Kurt Vonnegut was one of the most prolific American novelists of the last century. His writing was unconventional and thought-provoking. His passages were oozing emotion, and every word was trying to communicate something more than just its direct meaning. He wanted to inspire, to stimulate attention, to help the reader feel. Take this simple yet profound dialogue between two figures in his most popular bestseller, Slaughterhouse-Five. Why me? That is a very earthling question to ask, Mr. Pilgrim. Why you? Why us, for that matter? Why anything? Because this moment simply is. Have you ever seen bugs trapped in amber? Yes. Well, here we are, Mr. Pilgrim, trapped in the amber of this moment. There is no why. Or this passage where he explicitly criticizes the American dream. America is the wealthiest nation on earth, but its people are mainly poor, and poor Americans are urged to hate themselves. To quote the American humorist Ken Hubbard, "It ain't no disgrace to be poor, but it might as well be." It is in fact a crime for an American to be poor, even though America is a nation of poor. Every other nation has folk traditions of men who were poor but extremely wise and virtuous, and therefore more estimable than anyone with power and gold. No such tales are told by the American poor. They mock themselves and glorify their betters. The meanest eating or drinking establishment owned by a man who is himself poor is very likely to have a sign on its wall asking the cruel question, "If you're smart, why ain't you rich?" He is unflinchingly and unrelentingly attempting to question the status quo and provoke thinking. It is this lack of ordinariness that made him the writer that was and is still admired by many. It is this lack of ordinariness that can make any writer stand out. It was almost 7 years ago when I decided to start working on my first essay. I remember that moment quite vividly. It took me almost 2 hours to write 200 words. To put that in perspective, today whenever I manage to reach flow state, I can write around 1,000 words within 1 hour. So let's try and monitor my evolution throughout the years. Here's a small paragraph from one of my first essays. Efficiency. What a widely misunderstood term. I had to go through a lot of stages and career changes in order to understand what efficiency is and how to be properly efficient in whatever I do. Efficiency is closely related to discipline and focus. It is the process you need to undertake in order to achieve different goals you have. These goals can range from starting your own business or learning guitar to mastering a specific craft. This is not a bad paragraph. The writing style is direct and simple. Most of the sentences are well connected and the thoughts are clearly articulated. But one wouldn't characterize it as great writing because it is missing some essential ingredients that can bring one's writing style to a whole new level. Now take a look at a paragraph from an essay I wrote 2 years later. Becoming enamored with the way your brain operates can lead to a marvelous way in the way you manage it, but also in the way you evolve it. Although more information grants us access to more knowledge, our ability to analyze this information is predicated upon our ability to understand our cerebral makeup. Think of your brain as an uber-sensitive tool that shapes its form and capacity in accordance with the information it gathers. Nowadays, the information torrent we have to face has increased dramatically, and our brain struggles to keep up with this novelty. Writing well demands a degree of wholeness. That is, it needs to consist of multiple interconnected elements that blend together beautifully. Luscious words, great syntax, almost flawless grammar, coherent connections between sentences. That composition will result in a pleasurable experience not only for the eyes of the reader, but also for their soul. But to reach such a result, you need to be able to monitor your work and your own evolution as a writer. Identifying points of friction and areas that are open to improvement allows you to evolve your writing style in unprecedented ways. Think of writing as any skill that can be learned and improved. True competence emerges when one is capable of becoming aware of one's control over the skill. Continuous immersion offers a level of understanding of the constituents of the skill that an untrained eye will never be able to see. You become the writing, and the writing becomes you. A critical tipping point in my writing career occurred when I realized that I'm the amalgamation of my biggest influencers. The writers that inspire me have such a strong impact on the way I perceive words and various writing styles that they inevitably shape the writer that I am today. It all started with the fundamentals of personal growth, books like The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, Mastery by Robert Greene, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. These books really paved the path to what would later become a more refined version of myself as a writer. The writing of these authors wasn't that simple, but it wasn't that complicated either. They constitute the perfect starting point for every person who is new to self-development and can help every young writer understand how proper writing works. Later on, I felt that I could stretch my intellectual limits and dive into the works of people like Sam Harris, Jordan Peterson, Daniel Goleman, and Peter Joseph, to name but a few. These people examine more challenging ideas, thus the writing illuminates a level of intellectual depth very few people in this world have managed to reach. When one invests the time and effort to properly construe these ideas, one also increases the probability of forming similar ones. Eventually, I started to adopt more abstract thinking patterns, and I decided to challenge myself with what I like to call as the pinnacle of higher thought. This is composed of works produced by the greatest thinkers and philosophers across space and time, people like Friedrich Nietzsche, Immanuel Kant, Arthur Schopenhauer, Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, and so many others who devoted their lives to analyzing the human condition and making sense of the world around us. They did so in such a potent way that one can suggest that they transcended the limits of ordinary thought. When you quote-unquote befriend these figures and make them your source of inspiration, you can't help but understand that there is so much more to writing than mere thought articulation. Take for instance this powerful passage from Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil. It is the business of the very few to be independent. It is a privilege of the strong, and whoever attempts it, even with the best right, but without being obliged to do so, proves that he is probably not only strong, but also daring beyond measure. He enters into a labyrinth. He multiplies 1,000-fold the dangers which life in itself already brings with it, not the least of which is that no one can see how and where he loses his way, becomes isolated, and is torn piecemeal by some minotaur of conscience. Supposing such a one comes to grief, it is so far from the comprehension of men that they neither feel it nor sympathize with it, and he cannot any longer go back. He cannot even go back again to the sympathy of men. There is so much madness in his writing, but there is also so much truth in his madness. Your language is your main tool for articulating thought. For instance, by adopting a plain English way of speaking and writing, although you might sound more clear and concise, you're also limiting your potential for more elaborate thought articulation. Life remains in a stagnant state, and every opportunity to raise your intellectual standards and understand reality better becomes limited, because you can't keep up with complex topics and thought-provoking ideas. I realized that soon enough, and that's why you will identify many so-called big words in my essays and videos. I do it on purpose. I do it in order to positively provoke both myself and my readers. That is not an easy task, but I employed a very effective strategy to achieve that. I read hard books. Hard books are quite rigorous in the way the narrative is presented, and the authors usually use big words in order to attach one more layer of grandiosity to their ideas. Hard books have usually such a rare and beautiful vocabulary that reading them allows you to reevaluate what you know and what you don't know. According to my experience, the most efficacious way of dealing with big words is to keep a file on your computer with words that you like and feel comfortable using. In my file, you can find words like self-sabotage, plausible deniability, begrudge, palatable, connotes, adroitly, acrimonious, imbue, tirade, whimsical, extirpate, temerity, and many more. This file is an essential companion whenever I decide to start a new essay, and some words, just by the way they sound, can spark a new sentence or even a paragraph. Let's take for example the word extirpate, which means eradicate. I could easily add in this section of the video something along the lines of the use of big words could extirpate any sense of incompetence associated with your lack of a rich vocabulary. See how the sentence blends in nicely with the rest of the text and clearly elevates my writing stature in the eyes of the reader. Sometimes a beautiful sentence is also the creative boost a writer needs to stay dedicated to their endeavor. For people who want to kickstart their attempt to enrich their vocabulary, I suggest a great book titled 30 Days to a More Powerful Vocabulary. It was recommended by Sam Harris in one of his podcasts, and I really enjoyed reading it. Stick till the end of the video for a giveaway related to the book. Ultimately, great writing boils down not to what you write, but how you write it. There is a myriad of topics one can draw inspiration from, and there will be many people who will assert that your topic of choice has been covered ad nauseum. This is irrelevant, and these voices shouldn't be of any concern to you as a writer. A topic is authentic regardless of its content, insofar as the writer adds his or her personal touch to it. Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, Camus, Bukowski, they all cover topics revolving around a similar theme, that of life as struggle. No one accused them of being banal or repeating the same intellectual patterns, despite the fact that most were inspired by their predecessors. The choice of words, the emotion elicited, the level of resonance evoked, and the flow created are all elements that make a work special and unique. There is only one thing a writer needs to fight and be constantly aware of: clichés. The battle with clichés will be an omnipresent battle. It is a battle so tiring and difficult that ultimately becomes the catalyst that differentiates good writers from great ones. As a new writer, one can logically wonder, how can one identify clichés in their writing? A typical example would be to avoid repetition and use of conventional wisdom as the basis of your claims. Many people, due to their constant involvement with standardized and conventional ideas, exhibit a severe lack of innovation in the way they express themselves. You are more or less what your experience and knowledge allow you to be. You can't expect to rely on banality in order to formulate a more advanced level of reasoning. There is no chance that you will be able to battle clichés that way. Take a look at this sentence from the popular book, The Secret. There is a truth deep down inside of you that has been waiting for you to discover it, and that truth is this: you deserve all good things life has to offer. It is a beautiful sentence that creates an emotional response when you read it, but it is the most common motivational motif ever used. The internet is inundated with this type of reasoning, and although it has a degree of positivity and trends to it, it virtually offers zero value to the reader. In a nutshell, it epitomizes the idea of clichés. Now take a look at this aphorism from Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil. Beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. For when you gaze long into the abyss gazes also into you. This extraordinary combination of words is simply sublime. There is so much meaning behind the words. Clichés are nowhere to be found here. They were eradicated simply by the writer's choice to reject the norm and think unconventionally. There are many more things to be discussed on the topic of how to write well, but I decided to limit my scope of examination to 4 points that I personally consider more crucial than the rest. In the grand scheme of things, one eventually understands that good writing is predicated upon the capacity of the individual to evolve it. This evolution is quite essential to our own personal evolution, and also quite antithetical to all things that limit us. It is a tough process, albeit an extremely rewarding one. Hey guys, so this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators where you can explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. And I think it's a sponsorship that connects well with the topic of writing well. Jordan Peterson has said many times that to write is to think. And I totally agree. I cannot think of any other skill that can actually stretch so much your intellectual limits or help you think deeper. That's why I suggest people to start writing. Anything from journaling to writing essays or small novels can really help you discover the depths of your inner world. And also, don't forget that writing is a therapeutic process. Skillshare has numerous classes on writing and journaling that can either help you start writing or improve your writing. For instance, I really enjoyed this class by Roxane Gay titled Creative Writing, Crafting Personal Essays with Impact, or this class by Emily Gould titled Creative Writing for All, a 10-day journaling challenge. They're both quite engaging and very insightful. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, meaning that there are no ads and they're always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. And it's less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. Also, I would like to announce a giveaway with this video. I would like to give away this amazing book called 30 Days to a More Powerful Vocabulary. All you need to do to enter is to like this video, subscribe, get notifications, comment below, and sign up for Skillshare. The first 1,000 of you to click the link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium, so act fast. I will announce the winner in a week from now through my Instagram page, and I will contact the winner through the comments, so please stay tuned and turn on your notifications. Again, thanks for watching. See you soon. Adrian out.